Oh, Jesus!
A friend of mine who occasionally works at a private school found this gaming computer in their e-waste bin. Apparently this was used for CAD or design work or something like that, but either way, is it good as a gaming computer here today? It was free, so I've got very little to lose. Let's take a look at it and find out. It's been quite a while since I've worked on a desktop computer like this, which looks to also be complete. And how long ago was it constructed? Apparently long enough to warrant an optical drive. And inside a somewhat cheap looking case made by Cooler Master, a company known for their CPU coolers, fans, and of course computer cases, this looks to have a somewhat decent discrete graphics processor. Another positive is the solid-state drive mounted to the bottom of the case. Likely a small capacity, but hey, this was free. And an area that was cheaped out on was the very weak stock Intel cooler. And overall, this machine is in reasonable condition, likely suffering a bit of damage from being placed in a bin though. And the lack of dust does make me question just how much usage it saw, but it's also likely that it was maintained and perhaps cared for. Why did it get thrown out though? Was it too slow for whatever it was used for? Wait, did I just see smoke coming out of it? Yeah, there's smoke coming out of the case. Yeah, we better turn it off and investigate further, I think. It seems to be coming from the front of the case. What could possibly cause this to happen?
Well, I wasn't expecting smoke to start coming out of like right here. We'll try starting the system again. That was very weird. Well, let's start it up again. See what happens. Okay. It looks normal. Everything seems to be turning on. Okay. Oh no, that is definitely smoking. What is that coming from? Oh my god. Oh Jesus. Oh god. Well, that's definitely something. That's not good. It's like coming out of like there or something. Okay, let's not start this up again. Something is definitely not good. That does not smell good.
I think we're going to leave this out here for a bit. I really don't want it to catch fire.
2 hours later. All right, let's see what's within. We're going to have to take the front panel off. That's going to require us to take off this side piece, which is dented in, making this one screw at the bottom quite hard to actually remove. So let's take it off and we'll get to see the cable management as well. I can't actually see it from this side. Let me just peek over. Oh, that's pretty neat. Oh, that's all good. Cool. It still smells like burning, so let's take the front panel off and see exactly what we're dealing with. Okay, here we go. I've just unclipped it. Let's see if we can get it off. Oh, there we go. Okay, now let's see if we can't find the source of the burning smell. Okay, so as we can see, we've got 2 Phillips head screws that appear to be holding it on. So let's undo those. Honestly, I think I need a slightly bigger Phillips head bit, but this doesn't seem to be stripping so far, so we'll give this a little go. Okay, so now this is loose and should just come right out.
After a quick look, I can't see any obvious damage, but to be safe, I simply disconnected the front USB and audio. Having no front I/O is definitely better than a desktop that tries to become a smoke machine.
I've disconnected all the USB connectors and everything that's in the front, apart from the power button and the, I guess, the reset button as well. So I hope nothing happens. Here goes nothing. Oh, that's something. Okay, I'll take that. It's on. That's good. Okay, that's a start. All right, at least it turns on. System information. Let's see, what do we have? Nothing really that I'd want to know. I want to know, I kind of want to know what CPU this has. Is any of this going to tell me? I can't seem to see anything. System information F9. Oh, here we go. Core i7. 50. I'm not sure what kind of Core i7. I'll have to look up exactly what that is. But we have 16 gigabytes of RAM as well. That's pretty cool. And let's also see if we can find what SATA drive we have.
hopefully in here. Okay, so it's 120 gigabyte SSD. Perhaps we'll put in a better one. Either way, we actually have a working system. Okay, so it looks as if nothing seems to be coming up, implying that the SSD in here is probably wiped. Either way, this system seems to be running fine now that we've disconnected the front USB or perhaps the front audio that was causing it to almost catch fire. Well, that scared me for a little bit, so let's just put it back together and see if we can install an operating system.
Given the age of this system, I feel as if Windows 10 is appropriate. Sadly, support is going to, or maybe already has ended, but I'll use this operating system anyway. And a short time later, we had Windows up and running. The machine has an i7-6700, 16GB of DDR4 RAM, and once I got the drivers installed, we can see that it also features an Nvidia 1060, but it's the cheaper 3GB variant. The CPU is actually not Windows 11 compatible. Perhaps that's why the school threw out this desktop.
So yeah, here we have the 3GB 1060. I honestly really wish they'd gone for the 6GB variant, which I don't know, it wouldn't have been that much more at the time surely, because it would be massively more usable today. But either way, this is still a pretty solid card, and considering it costs nothing along with the whole computer, I can't really complain that much, can I?
But almost 10 years later, most games would benefit greatly from the extra video memory. And before we really put this machine to the test, I feel as if it's a great time to clean out the case. And I can't believe just how many updates there were to install. To be fair, my Windows 10 USB is around 7 years old, so the version I first installed was really outdated. And this case has plenty of room for expansion. However, the very cheap and compact motherboard only has one full-sized PCI Express slot. And much to my surprise, this very card regularly still sells for around 100 Australian dollars on eBay, and it's definitely got a decent selection of video outputs. For such a decent Intel i7 processor they put in here, it's surprising to see the tiny stock Intel cooler, which, after a lot of fiddling, released from the motherboard. The RAM in here is also definitely cheap, but 16GB in dual channel is fine for most games here in the current year.
Yes, this Crucial branded RAM is made by Micron. Of course, they have just announced that they're pretty much exiting the consumer RAM business altogether, so RAM like this is going to become exceedingly rare.
And this is actually the first case I've come across with 2.5-inch drive mounting points on the base of the case. I will admit this took me a bit of time to realize. I thought maybe they'd glued the hard drive in place.
So the 120GB SSD in here is totally fine, and considering this motherboard can't handle anything more than a SATA drive interface, I'm just going to add another one for storing games, because 120GB really is not going to hold most modern games.
And using a bit of eucalyptus oil helped clean up the surface nicely. Since it wasn't too dusty inside, I simply went through the case with a small brush. This really was one of the cheapest motherboards you could have bought back in 2016, but I guess it did the job. This case is definitely on the lower end in terms of build quality, but it served its purpose and it's fine. It cleaned up pretty well after a wipe down, and you'd be surprised how much gunk builds up on the areas that are frequently touched. That definitely extends to the side panel, which was surprisingly dirty. It actually took several passes to clean it off properly, and thankfully the damage on the dented corner was easy to bend back into shape with some small pliers. Sadly, this is one of the worst stock coolers as it doesn't even have a copper slug in the middle. It's all aluminium. If you're ever building a budget gaming PC, invest in a larger, better cooler, especially if you're running a powerful processor like this one. I'm honestly surprised the builder didn't opt for a cheaper Core i5 CPU, which would have meant they could have used the money saved on a far better cooling solution. At the very least, it's great to see that you can easily upgrade pretty much every component in here with ease. Oh, and I did work out where the smoke was coming from. It appears to have shorted out. I'm not exactly sure how you'd fix that. And for now, I'll just run the system without the front connectors, as I'd rather not risk it catching fire. Will this be a decent gaming machine? Considering the price tag, the bar is very low. I think it's time to install some games and find out. Oh yeah. Here's our fully sick gaming rig, and I'm sure it'll run GTA 6 when it comes out next year, or maybe the year after. First up, I tried BeamNG Drive at 1080p normal settings. Even with AI traffic enabled, I got a decent frame rate, well above 80 frames per second. This is very much playable and a lot of fun if you like racing cars and also seeing them crash. Next, I gave PUBG a go, once again at 1080p resolution, but with most of the graphical settings set to low and lowest. This was very much playable, and once again the frame rate was consistently above 80 frames per second, so I thought I'd try bumping up the graphical settings to medium. This definitely looked a lot nicer, and surprisingly, not making any noticeable difference to the frame rate oddly enough. I had a great time playing PUBG on here, totally fine on such an old system. Fallout 4 is another game I really wanted to try on here. 1080p high settings ran perfectly fine, and to be fair, this game did come out in 2015, and the hardware I'm using would have been pretty amazing for that time period. Super Tux Kart with the highest graphical settings, without surprise, ran great. This is a fairly simple title, but one that looks pretty nice with all the settings maxed out. The graphical benchmark Unigine Heaven got the GPU's temperature all the way up to 72 degrees Celsius, which is cooler than I would have expected. It ended up scoring 3,696 points. And I underestimated just how well the stock Intel cooler would run. The 6th generation Core i7 processor only reached 83 degrees Celsius after 2 runs of Cinebench R20. Not bad at all. This old tower has honestly impressed me quite a bit. If you were to chuck a modern graphics card in here, I'm sure it would still be decent for many more years to come. But in the meantime, it runs everything I love to play just fine.
With the recent dramatic increase in RAM prices and probably soon to be other computer chip prices, keeping your old gaming computer running is a good financial decision. This one here, with settings lowered and playing at obviously lower resolutions like 1080p or maybe even 900p, can still play most games just fine. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy holidays.